I want to start today by taking you to a high school in Chicago. It sounds like, a typical setting, just a regular school, but a few years ago they did something with their grading that,
Yeah.
well, it completely upended the traditional model.
The one we all know. You pass or you fail.
Exactly. You know the drill, you take a class, you do the tests, and if you don't hit that mark, you get a fail. You get the F.
Which is, that's the end of the road, right? It's
Yeah.
definitive. It tells you, you didn't make it, stop here.
A door slamming shut. But this school decided to eliminate the fail grade entirely.
Really?
Yeah. If a student didn't pass a course, they didn't get an F.
That?
They received the grade. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And at first, it sounds like maybe it's a semantic trick, right? Just a polite way of saying you failed. But when I was reading through the source material for today, it clicked.
Yeah.
The psychological weight of that shift is profound.
It really is. Think about that internal narrative. If you get a failing grade, the monologue is immediate. I'm nothing. I'm nowhere. I'm done.
It's identity judgment.
Absolutely, but not yet. That implies a trajectory. It tells you that you're on a learning curve. You haven't reached the destination, sure, but you're still on the path.
It gives you a future. And that specific policy is the perfect entry point for what we're covering today. We are taking a deep dive into the work of Dr. Carol Dweck, a Stanford professor who has spent decades on this stuff.
Yeah, right. And the mission for this deep dive is to explore what she calls the power of yet. And I want to be clear, this isn't just fluffy, believe in yourself theory.
No, not at all.
Dweck's work is rigorous. We're talking about studies with thousands of students, analysis of actual brain scans, interventions in real-world classrooms.
Yeah, we're going to look at the biology of how the brain processes difficulty, this dangerous tyranny of now, and how a simple shift can drive equality in places we've sort of given up on.
It's a fascinating look at human potential. It challenges the whole idea of talent versus effort.
So let's get into the science. Dweck frames a lot of her research around this one experiment she ran early on. She wanted to know how kids cope with failure. Or actually, not even failure, just struggle.
She was looking for that breaking point. What happens when things stop being easy? Do you crumble or do you pivot?
So she gathers a group of 10-year-olds, brings them into a room, gives them a series of puzzles. The first few are easy, just to get them comfortable. But then she gives them problems that are slightly too hard for them.
Just a little bit beyond their reach.
Exactly. Not impossible, but a stretch. She just wanted to watch the reaction.
And this is where the split happens. She saw two totally distinct, almost polarized reactions.
It's wild how different they were. The first group, let's call them the growth group, reacted in a way Dweck called shockingly positive. They didn't just tolerate it, they leaned into it.
They enjoyed it.
Yeah. One 10-year-old boy, he pulls up his chair, rubs his hands together, and literally says, I love a challenge.
Which is, that's not the reaction most of us have to a hard test. Most adults don't even react that way.
Not at all. And another kid said, I was hoping this would be informative.
Informative. That's such a key phrase.
Who raises these kids?
Well, that's exactly what Dweck wanted to figure out. These children understood something fundamental. Their abilities could be developed. They didn't see the hard problem as a judgment. They saw it as an opportunity to grow. That's what she coined the growth mindset.
But then there was the other group.
The fixed mindset group. And for them, this exact same situation, puzzles just slightly too hard, was perceived as tragic.
Tragic and catastrophic. Those are really strong words for a puzzle experiment.
But it was accurate to their experience because from a fixed mindset, intelligence is static. You have a small amount and that's it. So when they hit a problem they couldn't solve, their interpretation was that their intelligence was on trial and they were losing.
So instead of the power of yet, they were trapped in what Dweck calls the tyranny of now.
The immediate struggle was everything. And this is where it gets a little alarming. It's not just that they felt bad. It's what they did next. Their coping mechanisms were incredibly defensive.
Right. And this is the part that I think will resonate with anyone in a competitive school or even a corporate environment. When you feel like you've hit your limit, your goal shifts from learning to just protecting your ego.
That's it, exactly. So in one study, after struggling, they asked the students what they'd do next time, the fixed mindset kids. They didn't say study harder. They said they'd probably cheat.
Think about that logic. If the goal isn't to learn, if it's just to look smart, cheating is a perfectly rational strategy.
It preserves the image without the risk of failure.
It's a frightening incentive.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a fraud than a learner.
And it gets worse. In another study, after failing, these kids actively looked for people who did worse than they did.
Oh, wow.
They didn't want to see how the successful kids solved it. They wanted to find the kids who failed even harder so they could feel better about themselves.
At least I'm not that guy.
Ugh.
It's self-esteem repair through downward comparison.
But the core finding, the thing that defines this group, is that they run from difficulty. They disengage.
And Dweck didn't just stop at observation. This is a deep dive, so we have to talk about the biology.
Yeah.
She teamed up with neuroscientists to actually measure what's happening in the brain.
The electrical activity, yeah.
So picture this. We're looking at two brain scans, side by side. On the left, the fixed mindset brain. What are we seeing?
On the left, you see. Well, almost nothing. The scan shows hardly any electrical activity. It's almost silent.
So they are neurologically just checking out.
Exactly. They hit the error, their brain labels it as a threat, and they just disengage, they run from it. The brain isn't processing the mistake.
Okay, now picture the scan on the right, the growth mindset students.
It's a completely different picture. Dweck describes their brains as being on fire with yet. You see huge amounts of electrical activity, especially in areas tied to attention and error correction.
So they're leaning in.
They're engaging deeply, processing the error, learning from it, correcting it. This isn't just an attitude. It's a fundamental neurological difference.
That electrical activity.
Yeah.
That's the formation of new neural connections.
That's literally what learning looks like. Their brains are physically growing because they stayed with the problem.
That image, on fire with yet, is going to stick with me.
Yeah.
But Dweck zooms out from the lab here and asks a really tough question. She asks, how are we raising our children? Are we raising them for now or for yet?
It's a valid critique. Look at our obsession with A's, with getting the right answer immediately. We're raising kids who are just chasing the next test score, the next gold star.
She mentions employers coming to her saying, we have already raised a generation of young workers who can't get through the day without an award.
Can't get through the day without an award. That creates a very brittle workforce. If you need a sticker every time you do something right, you crumble when things get hard and there's no applause.
You become risk averse.
Totally. You can't tackle big long-term projects because you're too busy protecting your smart status in the short term.
So let's pivot to the solution. We know the problem. But Dweck is very clear that we can build a bridge to yet. This isn't genetic.
No, it's learned, and it can be unlearned.
And it starts with how we praise people. This part was surprising to me because it goes against so much of what we're told is good parenting.
This is the trap. We've been told for years to build self-esteem by saying, you're so smart, or you're so talented.
And Dweck's research says, stop doing that.
Immediately. She says praising intelligence or talent actually does harm.
Why? That feels so counterintuitive.
Because it makes people fragile. If I tell you, you got an A because you are smart, what's the logical conclusion when you get a C?
That I'm dumb.
Exactly. You've tied their success to an innate trait they can't control. So when struggle hits, they think that trait has run out. I guess I'm not a math person after all.
So what's the alternative? If we can't say you're smart, what do we say?
You use what she calls process praise. You don't praise the person. You praise their engagement, the effort, the strategies, the focus, the perseverance.
So you're praising the verbs, not the adjective.
That's a great way to put it. I love how you tried different ways to solve that, or I love that you didn't give up when it got hard, and the result is you create hardy, resilient kids who attach their self-worth to the work, not the outcome.
Dweck also talks about gamifying this. She collaborated with game scientists to create a math game designed to foster this mindset.
This is so cool. Most math games reward you for getting the right answer quickly. Bing! Points. It reinforces the now.
Right. Speed and accuracy.
But this game rewarded yet. It gave points for effort, for trying a new strategy, for making progress, even if you hadn't totally solved it.
And did it work? Did it change behavior?
Drastically. The students showed way more effort. They stuck with really, really hard problems for longer because the game valued the struggle itself. It retrained their dopamine system to enjoy the process.
I love that. But the most direct intervention she mentions is maybe the simplest. It's just teaching kids the neuroscience we talked about.
Yeah, the brainology workshop. They just taught students that the brain is like a muscle. And every time you push out of your comfort zone, the neurons in your brain form new, stronger connections.
So literally, you can get smarter.
Yes. It's not just believe in yourself. It's here are the mechanics of your brain. That feeling of struggle isn't failure. That is the feeling of your neurons connecting.
And the data on this is solid.
Big time. They did a study on kids going through a tough school transition, 7th grade, when grades notoriously slump. The control group showed the typical decline, but the group taught they could grow their brains. Their grades showed a sharp rebound.
Wow. Now, I want to move to what I think is the most inspiring part of this research. We've talked about individuals, but Dweck applies this to the macro level, to equality.
This is where it gets really powerful.
She talks about groups of students who've been chronically underperforming kids in inner cities, on Native American reservations, places where, frankly, society often thinks failure is inevitable.
Yeah, there's this heavy assumption that because of the environment or a lack of resources, these kids just can't catch up.
But Dweck shares these turnaround stories that they defy that assumption. She mentions the kindergarten class in Harlem.
This story is incredible. Many of these kids came into the class unable to even hold a pencil. But the teacher ran the classroom as a total culture of yet.
And after 1 year,
After 1 year in that classroom, that class scored in the 95th percentile on the National Achievement Test.
95th percentile. That's not just catching up, that's elite performance.
No, that's excelling. Then there's a school in the South Bronx, fourth graders, historically way behind. In 1 year, they became the #1 fourth grade class in the entire state of New York on the state math test.
#1 in the state, so we're not talking about small gains here.
Not at all. And then there's a story of the Native American reservation. This one is particularly striking.
Right, lay out the context.
So you had a school on a reservation, historically at the bottom of their district. But this district also included affluent sections of Seattle.
So you're comparing kids on an underserved reservation to kids from some of the wealthiest, most tech-forward families in the country. We're talking about the Microsoft kids.
Exactly. The resource gap is enormous. And yet, within about a year of implementing this growth mindset approach, the Native American students went from the bottom of the district to the top.
They outdid the Microsoft kids.
They outdid the Microsoft kids.
They gives you chills. It strips away all the excuses we make about why certain groups can't succeed.
And we have to ask why. It wasn't a new curriculum. It wasn't new funding. It was because the meaning of effort was completely transformed.
Unpack that. What does that mean?
Well, before, for those kids, effort meant, I'm dumb. If I have to try this hard, I must not be a natural. But in these new classrooms, effort was rebranded. Effort became the feeling of neurons connecting. Effort meant, I'm getting smarter right now.
It turned the struggle from a stop sign into a fuel source.
Precisely. And when struggle becomes the path to intelligence, you unlock all this potential that was just sitting there, dormant.
It challenges the whole idea of natural talent.
Right. It suggests talent is often just a head start, but mindset is what determines the finish line.
To wrap this up, I want to share a letter that Dweck received from a 13-year-old boy.
This letter really drives the whole point home.
He wrote to her and said, "Dear Professor Dweck, I appreciate that your writing is based on solid scientific research, and that's why I decided to put it into practice."
You have to love a skeptical 13-year-old who needs the research first.
Smart kid. He goes on, "I put more effort into my schoolwork, into my relationship with my family, and into my relationship with kids at school, and I experienced great improvement in all those areas."
That's the application. It's not just for school, it's for life. Relationships need a growth mindset too.
But here's the kicker. He ends the letter by saying this: "I now realize I've wasted most of my life."
He's 13.
I know. It's funny, but it's also really profound.
It is. Because even at 13, he realized he'd been operating under a false premise, holding himself back. He was mourning the potential he hadn't used.
And that connects to Dweck's ultimate conclusion. She says, let's not waste any more lives. She frames this not just as a teaching tool, but as a basic human right.
She does. She says once we know that abilities are capable of this kind of growth, it becomes a right for all children to live in places that create that growth, to live in places filled with yet.
Because we don't teach this, we're withholding a key to their own biology.
We're denying them access to their own potential. It's a powerful call to action.
So as you go about your week, we want to leave you with a question. We've talked about the tyranny of now versus the power of yet. Where in your life are you currently accepting now?
Right. Where have you told yourself, I'm not good at this, or this isn't for me, and just stopped?
And what would happen if you just added the word yet to the end of that sentence? I'm not good at public speaking yet. I don't understand this data yet.
It might just change your brain chemistry.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.